Hi guys, this is Singh here again. I'm coming from Australia. Today I'll be talking a very interesting topic about the state related to data engineering, and topic name is Apache Kafka. So today I'll be diving into Apache Kafka as a distributed streaming platform that powers real-time data processing for some of the world's largest systems. And generally, you might be know a lot of other companies, big companies like Netflix, Uber, LinkedIn, they use a Kafka. Even initially, Kafka was built from the LinkedIn company. So Kafka is just like a backbone for application needing high throughput, fault-tolerant data pipelines from real-time analytics for the to event-driven architecture. So now I'll just talk about my new slide. What is a Kafka uh, core concepts? So when someone talks about the architecture of the Kafka, only four main things comes into the mind. First is topics, partition, producer and consumer, and brokers. So now we need to understand what is a topic, what is a partition, what is a producer, and what is a broker. So I'll just give you a very real time example, like a IoT kind of example. If we are getting streaming data from the some IoT application, then generally we can use a Kafka architecture. So whatever we reads the data from IoT any application, so then what happen? Data goes into your topics. So topic is just your like a logical channel where the data is stored. And then what happen, like if you have a huge volume of the data, then what we do, topics will be divided into partition. So that's the reason here I mentioned is a partition for the parallel processing. Like if you have a huge volume of data and multiple files are coming from the IoT, so then topics will be divided into partition. And definitely in my few next slides I'll be talking in detail about those two things. And the third thing is very important, producer and consumer. So if you read words, even producer means the producer is just sending a data, and consumer, they are receiving a data from the through broker. So broker will be sitting in the middle. So in the next slide I'll be talking about the architecture. So producer, what it does, it sends the data into the topics, and consumer receives the data from the topic or broker. And broker, what is this? So broker is like a server and forming the Kafka cluster. You guys would have worked in some lot of tools like Databricks and DBT and Snowflake. So what we have to, we need to configure a cluster. So same thing in the Kafka architecture also, we need to configure a Kafka cluster, and broker is a part of the Kafka cluster. So this is the main things about the Kafka architecture. Now we'll talk about the next slide. So when you look at this picture, it looks very simple to understand what is a Kafka architecture. But when we will be involved for the scripting or coding, then it's little bit we'll be talking about the advanced stage and advanced level of the programming to understand like how we'll read the data and how the data will be configured in Kafka cluster, and how will be like a consumer will be reading a data from the topics. So when you look at this picture, so in the top is producer and the bottom is a consumer and the middle is Kafka cluster. So first we have to understand what producer generally sends the data to topics, and all topics will be divided into partition because we have getting huge volume of data, and the consumer is receiving a data from the topic. So this is a high level. So architecture. So now I'll go to the my next slide. So these are the very four important things to understand the Kafka architecture. So I'll just deep dive into the topics and partition as I like explained. What is a topic and partition? A topic is a generally is a split into partition, and each an order log of message. Partition enable parallel processing and are distributed across broker. So as I mentioned, broker is the middle, and each will be partition enabled parallel processing and are be distributed across the brokers. And now we need to understand what is a broker. So here I mentioned already, broker generally what happen, it stores a subset of partition and handles read and write questions. So what happen, read means it reading from the producer, and write means is writing data to the um, uh, consumer. So that we need to understand the architecture. And the third thing is a replication. So replication, why I'm bringing this point about the replication, what happened, uh, like because we have already understood producer and consumer in the middle, broker is there. But sometime what happen when you're reading data or writing a data, if the sum of the like a broker or cluster gets a failed, then what we have to do is automatically your followers will be replicated and your there'll be no impact for your loading of the data. So that we need to understand more about the replication, how the replication works. And the fourth thing here I mentioned consumer groups. So now we know uh, uh, topic, we know producer, we know broker, and the last thing is a consumer group. So consumer group is a, like a group share partition, enabling load balancing processing. Each partition is consumed by one consumer in the group. So what happened? Sometime we have a multiple consumer, like a consumer one, C1, C2, C3. So then what we can do is C1, C2, C3, we can club it as a consumer group, and as a group we can read data from broker. And broker like contains all your partition topics, and all the topics could be divided into the partition. So this one we need to understand in that fashion. So now we'll talk about the my slide fifth. So slide fifth is storage and retention. So what is storage and retention? Because when we're talking about the Kafka architecture, so what will happen? All your messages will be stored as a log structure and will be deleted or be appended in the sequential fashion. And the second thing is retention policies. So retention policies also is very important thing, like how many days you want to keep it your data. Like generally it is default 7 days, but you can increase it also. And compaction. So what is this? So this is related to message per key. So this thing I'll be talking in my next lecture. And now I'll go to my next slides. Very important information here. I just put it for the use case, because if some, even if you go some for the interview, they ask like, why do we use a Kafka? Then it's very good example. I just put it here. Like first, it could be track your user behavior instantly. Like you can see the example, someone like give a movie review. So based on the positive and negative sentiments, you can easily identify the customer behavior. So in there, we can use the Kafka architecture. And the next example, like a event driven system, sometime like we get lot of events, especially you can take the example for the Twitter, lots of tweets and goes here and there. So that's a event driven system. And the my third use case, it could be log aggregation. So log aggregation is very good example, and especially we can use for the banking industry for fraud detection. So whenever some some um, like anything goes wrong in the fraud detection bank, generally we store a log. So based on the log we can do some aggregation through Kafka, and we can generate a report, and definitely it will be very useful for the business. And the my fourth use case is a data pipeline. So data pipelines, generally we use the Elasticsearch also for the searching of the data, and also top of that we can use a Kafka. And my seventh slide is talking about, but this thing we already know, because Kafka cover generally for the performance, reliability, and scalability, and definitely is an open source system. In the like that, we need to understand how the cost works in the Kafka architecture. But some of the services which are free for the testing purpose. So these are the three main key benefits for the Kafka, like performance, reliability, and scalability. And now I just wanted to finish and wrap up my session about the Kafka architecture. So I just want to summarize what we learned actually. So what did we learn? Basically, uh, six main pillar. We understood topic, and we understood producer, we understood consumer, we understood broker, and we understood the high level architecture of the Kafka. And definitely there are a lot of videos available in YouTube, but this is a gives a understanding about the Kafka, to especially for the interview and for the high level architecture. Thank you. If you like my this session and my PPT, Please subscribe my channel and forward to your friends and family and like it. Thank you and bye.